Hey guys, this is Fantasy Knuckleballers. I'm here with Aaron and Justin. My name is Rich. We're here to talk about waivers. We'll talk about two-star pitchers. We'll talk a little baseball. Hope you enjoy it. Aaron, get us started.
All right. Thank you, Rich. Starting off, we're going to do our two-start pitchers. These are pitchers that are owned in 50% or less in most leagues. Specifically, I guess, mixed leagues, two-start pitchers that are owned 50% less in in mixed leagues. The first one I have here is Logan Webb. He started off the year really poorly for San Francisco. He got shuttled between the starting rotation and the bullpen, and he really struggled. And he's going up against Cincinnati and the Dodgers, but he's pitching well here lately. And I think that he's going to continue the trend, especially with Cincinnati. They do not hit well on the road. San Francisco is a good pitcher's park anyhow, so I think that's at least a one good solid win. The Dodgers haven't been quite as well as they have been before all their injuries. They are supposed to get Bellinger back next week, potentially. That might make things a little bit more difficult, but I think he's a good two-start pitcher. John Lester is another one. I think the matchups here are really good at the Cubs and playing Baltimore. Chris Bryant did get hurt today. There's no update as of recording this, whether or not he's going to hit the IL or not. But that could be a potentially good matchup there in Chicago. Obviously, he has history there, and it might be a good revenge game. And then Baltimore, they're generally a good team to play against as well. Casey Mays, he is owned in slightly more than 50% of leagues. I think there's still a pretty good chance that he could be out there for you. I would go ahead and check. I do like the matchups this week with Seattle and Kansas City, both on the road. The more he gets starts under his belt, the better he's going to pitch. So I like these two matchups. And then finally, Drew Smiley. I've stayed away from him up until now, but I do like the matchups. In his last outing, Smiley did pitch extremely well, kind of similar to what we saw from him last year and what the Braves saw in him when they signed him in the offseason. The Mets haven't been hitting as well as they were supposed to be hitting. Lindor is starting to come around a little bit. As a whole, without Nemo, without JD Davis, and a lot of the other cast and crew there, they're not hitting as well as they need to. And then Pittsburgh has been playing better than everyone expected, but I still think that's a really juicy matchup for Smiley.
Man, I'm with you with Logan Webb. You take out his Colorado start. I mean, he's doing a K per inning. I like Logan Webb this week. I'm 100% with you, especially in NL only or even in a 15-teamer. I think he's a good pick. Not so sure. I'm with you. I understand the matchups. Drew Smiley's got to show me a little bit more.
That would be the last one on my list there. Definitely. Like that would be strictly if you're the gambler and you want to just play the matchup and you're feeling lucky.
And I like Lester. I mean, Chicago's going to be cold. It's great matchup. He's going to go back there. He's got something to prove. And then Baltimore, that's a good matchup for him. A lefty going against a lot of lefties.
Yep, I really like the Lester pick. I think it's my favorite one on the list. I think I would target him first. For streaming. For longer term, you're looking at a Logan Webb. Because he's really coming in his own. He was under the radar last year, had some really good starts. And people kind of overlooked him. But so for Law, I think he's more of a hold and he's more in the category of a hold and keep, where Lester's more of a true streamer in my opinion. But I like the list.
All right. These are my nope pitchers, 2-start pitchers to avoid. Jordan Lyles, he's perpetually on my list. Really bad. He's not a very good pitcher this year. Going against the Yankees and Houston, bad matchups for him. Avoid at all costs. Fultonovich, Yankees, Houston again. He's a little bit better pitcher than Lyles this year. He's actually shown a little bit of what he had back in 2019, but I'm still staying away from him in the next week in these matchups. Zach Davies, he has not pitched well for the Cubs, even though his last start was okay. The matchups are okay. I'm still not waiting to see on Davies before I make any type of investment with him. And then Ryan Yarbrough at Baltimore and at Toronto. Toronto really scares me. I think they're playing that one in Buffalo or upstate New York. They haven't officially went back to Toronto, but Yarbrough hasn't been pitching well this year. I just don't think this is a good time to start rolling the dice on him.
The only thing I've heard about Yarbrough is possibly they're talking about him piggybacking and taking the second half, letting somebody come in and open. And I like him at Baltimore, at Toronto. That they're going to be playing that at Buffalo, which is a big home run park. I'm not as big a fan of that, but I kind of, I could see starting Yarbrough, and I could see possibly Zach Davies in an NL only. But I'm 100% with you on the Laws and Fultonovich this week. New York Yankees, and I know they're not hitting like they normally do, but it's still the Yankees, and Houston has a good lineup, so I'm out with you.
Yeah, the only one there that I'm probably actually considering Davies, just because of the matchups. Baltimore is Baltimore and Washington. They do have Soto back, but they've underwhelmed all year. And if Davies, his last start was any indication of him getting back to form from last year, then I definitely would consider him in this spot here for 2 starts.
All right. So next Justin's going to give us his streaming picks for next week.
All right, streaming pitchers. So here I really am looking at matchup based, because to me it's when you're talking about streaming pitchers, it really comes down to you're trying to fill a roster spot because people are on the IR and things like that. So for me, it comes down to, I'm looking at, the starters that are available versus, the long relievers that are available, and who can do more for the week. In this case, I'm just strictly keeping it to starters, but I think in the future we'll break this up into, starters versus non-save, relievers, maybe even non-hold relievers, because those guys are always fly under the radar. They can pick you up some wins, and they're going to get you 4 or 5 innings during the week. So my first one here is Rich Hill. On the 19th, he's facing Baltimore. Rich over the hill had a really rough start, but his last 2 starts have been really, really good. And he's coming into mid-season form, and when he's on a roll, man, he's pitching 6 innings, and he's raking up the strikeout. So I like him a lot against the Baltimore lineup. So next we have Vince Velazquez on the 20th against Miami. I've always been a Velazquez guy.
Yes, you have.
But he just has those really bad starts, and he's streaky. But he's having a great year. They're talking about keeping him in the lineup because of how well he's been pitching. And again, this is a good matchup. Miami's not hitting well at all, which is a shame because their starting pitching is doing a damn good job this year. But they're not getting any help from their hitters. So I really like this matchup here. And the last one is Noah. So again, this is a guy who started off hot, kind of got blew up for 2 starts, and then can't settle back down on his last start, and then who better to keep it going against than Pittsburgh? They are performing better than people thought, but they do have Colin Moran's on the IL, and then they still have Brian Hayes is still in the IL, so I'm not sure if they'll be back by then or not. Either one of those guys. I'm expecting Moran to be back. I don't know about Hayes, but it's a good matchup.
As being a Hayes owner, I don't expect Hayes to be back until probably All-Star break at this point. I'm getting so frustrated with that. So,
Yeah, I'm with you. Rich Hill is the only major league pitcher that has more bags under their eyes than me. And then Noah, he really throws hard. I get to watch a lot of Braves games, and I really like watching Noah pitch. He is one of those pitchers, kind of like Freddie Peralta, where you either get a great start or you get bombed. But I like the matchup against Pittsburgh. I'm 3 thumbs up.
Noah might be a really good addition long term too, because I just read where they're looking at Soroka's Achilles, and apparently not.
I just read that today. Good point, Aaron. Yeah, Noah might be a hold and keep. Given that we don't know what's going to happen with that. It's a exploratory surgery is what I read.
That's not a good sign. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a doctor, but I'm not exactly sure. I thought Achilles was pretty much a standard recovery, but apparently he's having issues with it. It's a shame because he's a pretty talented pitcher, and you'd hate to see any young player have that kind of trouble. But his 2021 outlook is going downhill rapidly.
I think he's really secure in their rotation. I mean, got Max Fried, you have Charlie Morton, who's not pitched that great,
and then you got Drew Smiley.
And then you have
Ian Anderson, Max Fried.
Thank
Ian
you.
Anderson. How do you forget about Ian Anderson? That's your boy. How do you forget about Ian Anderson?
I don't know. And that hair and that beard, I should give love for that.
All right, Rich.
Next week we're gonna be talking about the Braves outfielders, and you're gonna forget Acuna.
It's tough being old, man.
All right, are you ready for your sneaky waiver picks there, Rich?
Sure, let's do it.
All right.
If I'm in a 12-team league, one of the guys I want to pick up is Willie Calhoun. Willie Calhoun hits bombs. He's only on in like 16% of the leagues earlier in the week. He is not shown the power right now so far this year, but I like Willie Calhoun. I would definitely be looking to add Willie Calhoun if I'm looking for power. My next pick is Nick Sanzell. I think he's probably owned a little bit more than Willie Calhoun. Nick Sanzell was the number 2 overall pick in MLB draft a couple of years ago. He's been injured, he's been hurt, but he is one of the few guys that you can pick up on waiver wires that has the potential to be a 2020 guy. And his name's Nick Sanzell. They're going to give him the opportunity. It's just a matter of he can produce. And my third guy, if I got to pick up somebody to fit in my roster for a week, it's Brian Anderson. I'm not looking to hold him, especially in a 12-team league or a 15-team league necessarily, but he's going to give me a little bit of power. He's going to give me some counting stats. He bats between the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th spot. He gives me a little bit of everything, and I like Brian Anderson on a short-term pickup.
I agree with you. One added benefit with Sanzell is that he did pick up second base eligibility. He seemed to outplace India for the second base job with the new
How do you feel about that, Ian? That hurts a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Just another
Bad
to my
trade on
gut.
your part, but go ahead.
Another kick to my gut. I really
Yeah.
like Willie Calhoun. Willie Calhoun is the man. They got him from the Dodgers a few years back. I have high hopes for him. If you need stolen bases, like he's the guy. Like I said, I really like Calhoun.
Yeah, I really like the top two picks there. Again, another added benefit with Sanzell is they recently moved him to lead off, and when I read a stat that he's batting like 450 from the leadoff spot,
That's
so if he can keep that up, man, that's even though I know tonight he went 0 for 5, but and then the same with Willie Calhoun, he's been batting leadoff, so you got two lone guys here that have stolen base potential and have batting leadoff. They're going to give you a lot of runs. If they play well enough to hold them leadoff spots, these guys are really, really valuable.
yeah, I totally agree. And I think one of the points, I mean, you made a great point. You want a guy that's going to be batting high in the batting order. He's going to get your runs. He's going to get more ABs, therefore more RBIs, more potential to hit home runs. You want a guy hitting 134, 135.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a great list. So 3 thumbs up.
Thank you.
All right.
Two thumbs and 2 toes.
Okay. All right. Some of my super deep waivers. This is probably for NL only guys, but I'm going Wilmer Flores from San Francisco. We got Tommy LaStella on the DL. We also have Solano on the DL that plays second base. Flores is a great ad if you want somebody that can bring you some power. He's got 20 home run pop. I like Flores, especially if you're picking him up. You need to fill a spot. He plays multiple positions. I think he qualifies first base and second base in most leagues, and some leagues maybe some other positions besides that. But I really like Flores. My next pick is kind of a sneaky pick. He's not owned in a lot of leagues, but it's Matt Duffy. I think everybody would be surprised to know that Matt Duffy has 1,600 ABs in the major leagues, and he has a 284 batting average. So if you think about that, it's really hard to pick up players that can help you in batting average. We talked about earlier about Chris Bryant possibly being out. Matt Duffy plays third base. He's also a super utility guy. He can give you batting average and stolen bases. When you look at his career, he's been a guy that can get you 10 to 12 stolen bases per year. He's got 3 so far. If I have the roster spot, especially in the NL only, I like a Matt Duffy on my team. You got to know your roster and roster construction. So if you're needing home runs, maybe not looking for Matt Duffy. But if you're struggling for a batting average or needing some extra steals, he's a great guy.
I need a lot of things.
What?
I need a lot of things.
I'm with you. Me too.
Aaron needs this whole list.
William Contreras, my guy. All right, he plays for the Braves. He's going to get 60 to 70% starts for the Braves going forward. Tonight, he hit a bomb. When it cracked off the bat, the only person I thought on the Braves that could hit it that hard were 2 people, Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna. And he took it deep left field. It had a different sound. This is a guy that can be a 20 home run guy. If you're in an NL only league and you have a spot and you don't have one of the top 4 or 5 catchers, I'm thinking William Contreras. I'm even considering dropping Yadi and Molina and picking up William Contreras. So
I would have already done that.
So it's something to think about. Matt Adams, hey, he's something to watch, somebody to watch. CJ Krohn is on the DL with a back issue. Back issues are tricky. If CJ Krohn doesn't come back, Matt Adams is going to be the guy that plays a lot of first base. And he's a guy that doesn't hit for a lot of average, but Colorado boosts average, and he's a guy that can hit 20 home runs off the bench with 300 ABs. So he's a guy, if you need power, you're looking for power, maybe you pick him up and hold and wait and see if CJ Krohn comes back. If CJ Krohn comes back, you drop, pick up another guy. If not, in the AL only, if CJ Krohn stays on the DL, Matt Adams is a good pickup. And then finally, we're talking about some guys that probably should be on in every league. Jared Kellnick and Logan Gilbert. I think if you're in a 12 team, 15, AL only, whatever kind of league, these guys are the real deal. I think Kellnick should be vying for Rookie of the Year by the end of the year, and Logan Gilbert is that good a pitcher. I remember reading an article talking about he's a 6'5" guy with a really nice fastball, but one of the things that makes him special is he has great extension. It's elite extension, I think it's what the articles talked about. So even though his fastball might be 94, 95, it looks like 98, 99. So these are two great pickups. It's really good for Seattle. I look for them to do big things the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm all for it. Like, you have to check to see if Kellnick and Gilbert's on the waivers anywhere or available. If they are, snatch them up. You probably should have done it a week or two ago, but if you haven't yet, and if they're there, snatch them up. But yeah, the only I guess other question I have about that is they've been playing Joe at first base in Colorado so far. He has a 333 average. Granted, it's a very, very small sample size, but they may turn to Adams. They may give him a start or two, and depending on how he pans out, like, he'll get more starts or not. As far as his power, like, his power is legit anywhere, so he definitely can mash in Colorado. It's just a matter of how much he's going to be given opportunity.
Yeah, remember you got Brendan Rodgers coming back next week too, so that's going to fill that second base hole. So that leaves Ryan McMahon at first and third. So that's my only question with Adams is how many at bats is he really going to get? But I love the Flores pick because I always tend to target guys with multiple positions eligibility just because it makes especially years like this when you're dealing with injury, so many injuries, it makes roster construction a whole lot easier when you got guys that you can move around rather than, they're in one spot or on my bench. Contreras, he's somebody to watch too. Now I know I might pick him up for trade bait for Rich later on in the season.
Maybe so.
And then there's two Seattle guys. Yeah, I mean, people. I'm sure they were brought up today, and I think Kellnick was up today, and Gilbert's going to be tomorrow. So I'm sure people are already looking at them. They're low owned, but especially if in leagues that not one and done leagues, year to year leagues where you can keeper leagues and things like that, you definitely want to look at these two guys if they're out there.
And Aaron, to just answer about Matt Adams, what I'm looking at is upside. I mean, I don't think Connor Joe's going to keep the job. I don't think Fuentes is going to keep anybody from taking his spot. I mean, that leaves McMahon at third base. That leaves, even if you put Rogers at second and you put Hampson in the outfield, Adams is in the big time part of platoon. He only faces righties. He doesn't face lefties. I mean, that's my thought in the lineup construction, and that's all based on CJ Krohn. If CJ Cron's healthy, Matt Adams doesn't have a job. But I'm
there with you.
That's why it's super deep waivers. You're right, man. You're looking at guys with at this point you're not looking for high floors, you're looking for high ceilings when you're talking about super deep waiver. And especially if you need home runs, then Matt Adams is that guy,
And there has been a study done so far. They've ran numbers as far as IL trips. IL trips are up 15% from 2019, and it's 22% higher for pitchers specifically. So I know I was questioning a couple weeks ago, like, it really seems that the trips to the IL has gone up, and
yeah,
like I said, back that up. Yes, it has gone up.
Even without the COVID IL, it's just the regular IL. It's just people are going left and right, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've
And-
had 4 players in the last 2 days. And Ed, I know you've had a bunch.
Speaking of COVID and pitchers to start, a lot of the Padres have went down with COVID. They've actually came up with COVID positive, so it might not be a bad idea to start some pitchers going up against the Padres because they've got Tatis and a lot of their shortstops.
On the IL. Eric Hosmer's on the IL.
Yeah, Hosmer.
Tatis is on the IL. You're right. If you were streaming right now, it's a great time if you're playing DFS. Tomorrow might be a good day to go against Padres.
Speaking of that, we have some DFS starts for May 14th. Just looking at the lineups, it's really difficult to give DFS information this far out in advance, but I think New York, the Yankees, is a pretty good stack against Kramer and Baltimore on Friday. The way Castilla's been pitching for the Reds, he has a start up against Colorado. Like I said, I'm stacking a lot of different Rockies on Friday night. And then Minnesota and Oakland, Frankie Montas and Matt Shoemaker are going in that Oakland versus Minnesota game. And both pitchers have struggled this year. And I know Shoemaker did okay in his last time out, but I like both teams there as far as stacking them. There's a lot of good pitching matchups. Contreras is going up against the Dodgers and Kershaw on Friday night. Like I said, the Dodgers are missing a few players due to the IL. Alcantara has been a really good pitcher all year. It's a little shakier matchup, but you might be able to get a little bit of discount for him since he's going up against the Dodgers. Scherzer against Arizona. It's a pretty weak lineup. I know they've been hanging in there a lot, and they've scored some runs against some players, but Scherzer against Arizona, I think is a really good matchup. And I think the last time, Rich, you and I were talking about like a pitcher racking up strikeouts, DeGrom against the Nationals. I think we called it like DeGrom was going to get like 15 strikeouts, and he sure lived up to that one. I think Scherzer goes out and gets at least a dozen against Arizona Friday night.
I like that you included me here, but that was your call. It was a great one, by the way.
And I do like Sanzell against Seattle as well. Obviously, if they start playing Kellnick, it improves the lineup a little bit. But he's been pitching. He didn't pitch very well at the beginning of the year, but he's pitching better as of late. And I still like that matchup against Seattle. But like I say, depending on the dollar amount, like I really like Scherzer up against Arizona. And like I think a dozen strikeouts is within reach. All right. Do you guys have anything else to say?
Yeah, I got a couple things. One, I just watched Chips, the movie, and actually,
you're awesome, Rich.
It's very underrated. Dak Shepard directed and wrote it. I was kind of not really expecting it to be a very good movie with Ponch and John Baker kind of reliving the 70s show if you ever saw it. But it was really good. If you like a lot of action, a lot of motorcycle, a lot of explosions, and I'm not a big action guy, but the backstory really worked, and it was a good movie. The other thing is I just got through reading this book by Peter Frampton. I'm not a huge Peter Frampton fan, but I read the book.
He lives in Cincinnati, by the way.
Yeah, he did live in Cincinnati. And little known
I think he still does.
Was he grew up, and in his middle school, he went to school with Davy Jones, who became David Bowie. And he used to play guitar with him. And his father was the art teacher, was David Bowie's art teacher. So they hung out at lunchtime and played guitars in middle school. Thought that was
no idea.
I thought it was a great story.
That is a cool story.
Yeah, lived in Cincinnati. Yeah, he talks about it in the book. It's his biography.
He married, his wife is from here.
Well, his ex-wife, I think.
Maybe that's it.
One of his ex-wives. He has several, but she was from Cincinnati. But really, he lives in Nashville now, I believe. But really good biography if you like biographies and like old rock and roll.
You got anything else there, Rich? I
That's
love
it
your
for
little
me.
tangents.
I could
I
probably
watched
do
the
some other stuff, but go ahead.
I watched the new Mortal Kombat movie.
I was
Um, it was all right. It lived up. I can't say it lived up to the video games. There was a lot of graphic parts. It was a lot of the graphic parts at the beginning rather than at the end. I would have liked to seen it throughout the entire movie, but there were some really good parts. I think it 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 was what you expected. Like if you're wanting, Oscar nom Oscar worthy movies, you're not going to get it there. But if you're looking for a movie to bring Mortal Kombat the game to life, that it did a pretty good job for that.
good deal.
Never seen it, man. I did watch I did watch a movie this week. I watched Silverado. It's an old movie, old western. Not that old, maybe from the '80s. I think it was one of Kevin Costner's first roles, but I've seen it a bunch of times. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it.
Good
I stay
movie.
away from Kevin Costner movies unless it's him involving a sports movie. He's great with sports movies, not so much with a lot of other movies.
No, he's good. His role in Silverado, he plays it well. A young spunky cowboy.
Anybody listen to any good music lately? Justin, I expect at least some kind of punk rock music or something.
I've been really.
Yeah.
I was never this big into this group back in the '80s or the '90s, but like here recently, I've been really big into them, and I listen to them all the time. And it's Cheap Trick. I love that group. Actually, I think depending on how concerts go, I think I have tickets to see them in Cincinnati this summer. Like I
Nice.
said, like I love the group. I don't know why it took me this long to like them, but I'm a Cheap Trick fan now.
Yeah, I like Chip Trick.
Not even. I can't really tell you because I don't know what they sing. I'm a
Pretty
country and rock
please.
guy, man. I
Yeah.
listen to a lot of like Cody Jinks, Ryan Bingham.
I like some Cody Jinks. I know who Ryan Bingham is, so I'm with you. You
And then
like these guys yeah, Cody Jinks is really good.
Cody's a man. And then I listen to a lot of like alternative rock, like from the '90s stuff I grew up on. Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains.
This was a couple years ago. I found like a box of my old tapes that I used to have, and I started playing one of them. I started playing some of them, and one of them was Warrant. I think it was like Cherry. I was listening to the song Cherry Pie, and like I said, this was like 20 years later, and I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is the stupidest song I've ever heard as far as lyrics go.
Hey
I'm
man,
like,
there's some good big hair bands, but that was not one of them. I'm sorry.
I loved the song back when it came out. Granted, I was in high school or what have you.
It was a cool
But
video. I mean, you had the hot bass. Yeah.
that was some really bad lyrics. I'm like, oh man, these are bad.
Yeah, I'll stick with for big hair bands. I'll stick with Motley Crue and Skid Row,
There you
Def
go.
Leppard.
I
They're
can do
good
some.
choices.
All right, let's wrap this guy up. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can feel free to email us at mvp@fantasyknuckleballers.com. You check us out on Twitter at fknuckleballers. Visit our website, fantasyknuckleballers.com. Appreciate everyone for listening. If you like what you heard, please check the like button and look for our next show.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.